Welcome to Tim Talks. This one here we're going to entitle Live Simply So That Others Can Simply Live. That's a cliche kind of saying that I've heard, God, I don't know, going back 30, 40 years, right? And I even remember, I'm kind of almost ashamed to say this, but I used to see that on bumper stickers in people's cars in Santa Cruz, where I lived, California, Santa Cruz, California. Years ago, and I used to think, that's kind of new agey. You know, I kind of wrote it off, even almost made fun of it a little bit. And I realized how stupid was that. It's so important. Live simply so that others can simply live. If you look at the difficulty humans are having in how we're destroying our earth and a world we live in, it can really be brought back to we don't live simply. Our ancestors lived simply. Not because they were the greatest people that ever lived on the planet. They had no choice. They had to hunt for all their food. They had to build their shelters. They were at the whim of nature, of potential enemies, of famines, of things like that affected them. Their lives were simply simple. They were trying to live in a way that allowed them just to not die because it was so simple. We're in the reverse. There's so much abundance. I mean, I just think about going into like a big giant grocery store, like Costco or something, which I love it. I'm not complaining. If I would go back in time 1,000 years and bring one of our Native American ancestors or one of my Celtic ancestors back with me and put them in the middle of a Costco and went down the food aisle with them and showed them all this stuff that they can eat and started giving them tastes and things. Oh my gosh, can you imagine what they would think? They wouldn't have a place in their brain, much less their being, to even understand it. The concept of it would be so foreign to them. So in defense of human beings, we've evolved so quickly into the modern times that I don't think we've really had enough time to fall into what it is to live simply. We wanted so much to get out of the struggles of survival that we've just gone crazy with everything we can. So we want more and more and more. Even me, and I'm not saying I'm any kind of a great guy around this. I work hard to live simply in many, many ways, and I am. But, I'm sitting here in my home that I built. It's a lot bigger than probably a lot of other homes would have been back 500 years ago. I've got the TV here, we've got the stove, the oven, the refrigerator. I can hear the laundry going right now. The lights are on. I'm talking to you on a camera. You see what I'm saying? And afterwards I can go open my refrigerator and get some lunch or look in the freezer and get some frozen food. You see what I mean? But this is what we have to start to look at now. As we evolve, we now have all this abundance. Although also, when I'm sitting here thinking about it, and everything I just told you I have, right now the people in Ukraine, they don't have any of it. There's many people living in Africa and the southern climates. Their lives are being completely disrupted by climate change caused by people who live with so much more right now and into the future. They have very dark futures. They don't have the abundance we have. So right now, all over the world, people don't have it. It's a few over the many. And that's never worked in the long run, okay? We have to share. Earth caretaking, a huge part of earth caretaking, is about shared abundance. We all win. Shared abundance. So, taking on the idea of living simply, consuming less clothes, less food, grow more food instead of just buying it. Stop with the endless consumerism. It's something we will have to deal with into the future. It's got to happen. We can't keep going this way. And you saw, even with COVID, when COVID hit, the disruption in goods and things, and that was a minor thing compared to what could happen. Imagine right now If you couldn't go to Safeway, let's say the power went out and the internet went out all around the world. I mean, recently there were something from the sun. I forget what it was creating extra heat, and it was potentially going to knock out the internet and things like that. What if something like that happened, which could in the future, or a war did it, or anything else, and you couldn't go to Safeway, the big fancy grocery store, or Costco, and you couldn't go get gas in your car down at the corner gas mart, and you couldn't, your refrigerator didn't work, you had no power, there's no internet, there's no voicemail, any of that. What would you do? What would you do? Maybe a bag of beans and rice would sound pretty good at that point, right? Damn good. Maybe going out and doing a little foraging would sound damn good. See what I'm saying? So we have to look at over consumerism, crazy consumerism. Live simply so that others can simply live. I'm not going to lecture you here on right or wrong with it. You got to look in the mirror and decide yourself. The only way things are ever going to get better is if we individually decide, or in small groups decide to do it. So take a look at your life. See where you can live more simply, particularly in how you spend your money consuming and how you spend your physical time. Think, in other words, how can I wake up today and make the world a better place for all living beings by how I live? Can I do something physically with my actions? Can I not buy something today? This is what you have to start to look at. There's been volumes of books written on living simplistic. We know how to do it. The information is out there. We have to choose to do it. Is it going to make some of the big giant corporations upset? Probably. But they'll have to learn to adjust too. They'll have to learn how to adjust too. And maybe for the better. It doesn't have to be a bad thing, living simply so that others can simply live. It could be a really good thing, and it's how it should be. All right? So live simply so that others can simply live. It's a great phrase. See if you can do it. See if you can do it. Hope.
I started these talks, and I still believe they're mostly for our alumni and future students, people who are interested in coming to our school, to continue with the teachings of the school, or to be introduced to the teachings of the school. Which, if I had to break it down, it would be to build a deep personal relationship with nature, reclaim our birthright, to be close to our earth in a personal way, and a call to action, a willingness to take on the idea of becoming an earth caretaker as one of the purposes, if not the main purpose, of our life on earth. That's what these talks are about. I hope they inspire people, and I'd love to hear from you on ideas for talks you might like to hear and questions you might have if I brought any up.